Almost 2/3 of all Americans believe that fake news is creating a lot of confusion in society. Looking at the bigger picture, we can see that our fake news problem has at least 3 parts, and each part requires a different solution. The first part of the problem is media distribution. Most Americans get their news online, and a lot of it comes through social media. Social media news feeds don't discriminate between reputable news sources and your crazy uncle who swears that the earth is flat because he saw a video about it on YouTube. That means that for most Americans, trustworthy content now sits side by side with conspiracy theories and fabricated news stories. The second problem has to do with a lack of trust. The public's general trust in mass media has been on a steady decline for decades. In 1999, 55% of people trusted traditional media sources to report the news accurately and fairly. As of 2016, that number had plummeted down to 32%. This is a dangerous trend. Without a trustworthy media, it's hard to hold our elected leaders accountable. This is why authoritarian regimes typically start by attacking independent journalists and media outlets. They know they can't control the population if someone is reporting accurately on their every move. The third part of the problem comes down to news literacy. In a nutshell, people are not very good at evaluating news sources or separating truth from fiction. And the problem isn't limited to a specific age group. A recent Stanford study showed that most teenagers had trouble recognizing the difference between paid advertisements and real news stories. So what can you do? Unfortunately, there are no perfect solutions. The distribution problem rests mainly on the shoulders of big social media companies like Facebook and Twitter. And as long as the public continues to put pressure on them, these companies will look for ways to stop the spread of intentionally misleading information. The lack of trust problem comes down to media outlets working to regain the public's trust, and that takes time to build. What we can do in the meantime is support good journalism whenever we see it, and relentlessly defend independent media from government interference or intimidation. And lastly, the problem of news literacy comes down to teaching the public good critical thinking skills so they can better evaluate the trustworthiness of any piece of information. News literacy programs are already popping up all over colleges across the country, and it's a good start towards a long-term solution. No society can function if people cannot tell truth from fiction. Beyond political ideology, we must solve our fake news problem before we lose democracy itself.